Here we are, Legend of Everfree. From what I've seen, the Equestria Girls series gets better as they go along. So why would Legend of Everfree be any different? Well, you saw the title of the video, didn't you? Out of the main 4 Equestria Girls movies, Legend of Everfree has to be my least favorite. Granted, Rainbow Rocks and Friendship Games sort of really raised my expectations, but Everfree is so underwhelming. There are things I like about it, but the bad really outweighs the good. It's not even bad. It's, as I said right before, really underwhelming compared to the others. It feels so shallow. Well, let's take a look at it and see why it's not as good as I was expecting it to be. So, our story has our old Canterlot High gang going on a week-long trip to Camp Everfree. It's your standard movie summer camp with a bunch of random activities for characters to do in the background, and a mysterious local legend. Once the main 7 arrive, they discover fabulous secret powers that are the result of these magical geodes. Twilight can levitate things, Pinkie Pie can create these magical glitter bombs, Applejack has super strength, Rainbow Dash can go fast, Sunset can read minds, Rarity can make crystals appear out of nowhere, Johnny is the Human Torch, and the Thing just loves to fight. The main 6 end up eventually using these new powers against the camp's owner, Gloriosa, after she takes the geodes for herself. The overall story feels less like a proper movie and more like an episode of a TV show or a special. The general flow of it is very Adventure of the Week. There really isn't all that much going on aside from the main conflict, and what there is, it's more like a B-plot in a sitcom. There's very little breathing room in the story. The whole thing is, main 7 go to camp, main 7 get powers, main 7 do action battle, movie over. The magic at the camp comes out of nowhere, meaning it isn't connected to anything else from the previous movies. In the last 3 they were very clear about how this was the only instance of equestrian magic the world has seen. And it worked. It felt like an actual overarching story and not a series of random specials. In this one, they just happen to be there while magic shenanigans are going down. The movie's also really short, only being like 70 minutes. The Arthur Iceberg is longer than this movie. So, remember how I said the main 6 got less Flanderized as the series went on? I only meant like some of them. Well, all their personalities in this one are pretty down pat. Even Pinkie Pie, who I think I realized I just don't like. Rarity, though. I don't think the writers get that there's any nuance to her character. The only personality trait they give her in this one is she likes fashion. Like George Lucas writing C-3PO. Oh, he's always afraid. Oh, she only likes fashion. In any scene where Rarity is the main focus, that's probably the only thing she'll be talking about most of the time. They even give her this little subplot about doing this camp fashion show. Like, I know that's what she loves. I know she loves fashion, but you'd think she'd want to break from it eventually, especially if she's going to be spending the whole week in the woods. I don't know. Maybe they wrote her like that, just because they didn't want to do the whole, oh, this character is grossed out by nature, she doesn't want to get the mud on her, etc, cliche with her. But I think that would work just fine. Rarity wanting to have fun with her friends, but being afraid of getting her clothes or whatever dirty, feels more reasonable than having her do the same thing she does when she's at school, and at home. And wherever else for that matter, on the bus? I don't know. Since Sunset Shimmer's redemption arc is over now, she's sort of the best character out of everyone here. Not even kidding. She's like one of those Mary Sue characters who's the best at everything, but actually done right. Her attitude towards everything that goes on is really chill and down to earth, and she usually knows what's best to do for every situation. The reason I think this works here is that she doesn't start out like this. Originally she was one of the worst parts of Equestria Girls 1, but we've slowly seen her grow and change, and she sort of deserves to be a Mary Sue. She can have a little Mary Sue. As a treat. For Twilight, thankfully, they haven't exhausted every possible character arc for Sideway. On the surface, it's Twilight being insecure, yeah, big deal, but she has an interesting reason for it. After turning into Midnight Sparkle at the Friendship Games, she has this thing where she's worried about accidentally hurting her new friends, which is something interesting for Twilight to go through. I really don't think they did that with her in the show at all. It's sort of like what Sunset went through in Rainbow Rocks and Friendship Games, but to a bigger degree. They even do that dumb thing where people will bring up how they defeated her in the last one, and then look at her and be like, oh, sorry, lol, because, you know, that was the funniest part of Rainbow Rocks, next to Taco Tuesday. In this movie, they try to give Twilight a love interest, which I'm honestly surprised they haven't tried in any of the other movies. I could have sworn they gave her like a boyfriend or some sort of crush or something. Whatever. This guy's okay, he's definitely my favorite of the 2 counselor characters. The banter that he and Sideway have sounds really forced and dumb, but at least it's there, and they have something to bond over. They actually have some chemistry, which is great. Imagine if they tried giving Twilight a love interest who had like no chemistry with her and just acted awkward for like 3 movies. That would be awful. Okay, so if you don't get the joke, the joke is I'm talking about Flash Sentry, but I'm really not. The other counselor, Gloriosa, she's kind of meh. Unlike most villains from the series who are evil for evil's sake, she actually has a legitimate motivation. A motivation that makes her interesting. You see, Filthy Rich wants to close the camp down and build a spa on top of it, but she's not having any of that. Yeah, pretty basic situation, but they mix in the whole equestrian magic corrupts thing with her. Gloriosa tries to use some magical geodes to make the camp more fun, but accidentally gets consumed by the power and turns into one of those equestrian demon things. I'm gonna be upfront with you, I'm not a fan of this design, or Gloriosa's design in general. She's kinda uggo. Her and her brother look really generic, like they could be just some other character from CHS. They also try this Scooby-Doo thing with them, where Sunset thinks they're trying to scare people away from the camp by making it look like this one ghost story is real, and that goes nowhere. Also, how they explain Gloriosa's plan is super lazy. Sunset touches her arm and then instantly knows everything about it. I know that's her power, but they could have done it in a better way. At least it's better than her standing there and being like, oh yeah, that's what was going on. But, I don't know. I think the villains in this movie have the same problem as the ones in Friendship Games. Oh, Spike is here too. He gets to wear a cool hat. And that's really it. Character animation in Everfree is the best it's ever been. The rigs they'll use for the characters have more poses for the eyes and mouth, which let them do a lot more expressions. The characters are rarely static in this one. You don't have any of those awkward shots where a scene will be happening and the rest of the characters are just standing there in their default pose. They'll usually have them leaning a certain direction, or even, gasp, moving like real people instead of Chuck E. Cheese animatronics. I like how they try for a different location for this one. The idea is that it's supposed to be a breath of fresh air compared to Camelot High, and the setting legitimately looks beautiful in some parts, like some of the shots in the intro or in the Midnight and Me sequence. I mean, if you like forests, you'll love this movie. I think too much of the movie takes place on this dock though. CHS's hallways might all look the same, but that's what schools look like. I swear, this dock has more screen time than Spike. Also, a minor nitpick, but why do they sleep in these weird tent things instead of cabins? Like, the interior looks exactly like a cabin, but you go on the outside and it's this? Whatever. I said, it's a dumb nitpick. The visuals for the ending are cool, but that's all they really are. Like, they tried to top Friendship Games by having an epic ending, but it doesn't work for me. The build-up for it isn't really there. Since I mentioned before, our villains and heroes meetup is sort of incidental. It doesn't have the hype that Friendship Games does. It's less like an epic conclusion, and more like a kid who really likes Power Rangers mashing their Equestria Girls dolls together to make them fight. The actual ending for the movie is pretty okay. It does what the last two have done and sets up more stuff for future adventures, like the main six's pony power necklaces and Sidewine Timber's relationship. I'm not a fan of these. The main six having pony powers is good enough. I don't see why you have to make them super action-oriented and specific like this. Like the weird Marvel-esque climax, it feels sort of tacked on without any thought. One thing I never thought I'd be saying about this movie is how varied the music is. No, not the actual vocal songs themselves, though they are all pretty different. They actually go for a lot of different styles for the background music. Sometimes they'll do the standard MLP light orchestral stuff, but other times they'll go for more synth music, like in Satwi's Evil Freddy Dreams that she has about Midnight Sparkle. There's a lot more guitar in the score, which adds some nice atmosphere. Also, I dig that little slow dance song they play for when they have the big dance at the end. For this one scene with Gloriosa's demon form, they actually try to do some sort of Danny Elfman thing. It's not all that bad, it's pretty good. For the actual songs, they're eh. Out of the main 4 movies, I'm sad to say that the ones in here are probably the least memorable. There aren't that many, and the ones that are there are really short. Like, I'm not sure if any of them actually reach 3 minutes in length. They all have a generic country pop sound. The fake Philip Phillips song they play in the opening credits is pretty catchy, probably my favorite. Midnight and Me is nice, it's better than Sidewise song from Friendship Games. Embrace the Magic sounds way too similar to The Magic of Friendship Grows, but it's still good. The Rain Booms get an okay song at the end, if you wanted another one of those. The ending song, Hope Shines Eternal, sure is there. And I know it's a controversial opinion, but Stand for Everfree isn't my cup of tea. Yeah, it's because I don't like Gloriosa and the whole climax, but I don't know, it sounds sort of lame. I do like the lyrics Stand for Everfree, and how it sort of sounds like Stand Forever Free. If that's their intent, that was pretty clever. Sort of like we say jump, you say how high from Under Our Spell. It's a nice little double entendre, like they're telling you to like jump off a bridge or like off a building or something, but you're like, oh, how high, because you're like at a concert, because you're listening to their music, and that's what you do at concerts, you jump up and down to the music. Anyway, for the final movie in the mainline Equestria Girls series, this one was kind of underwhelming. It might have been because my hopes were too high, but it really feels like a major downgrade. They definitely perfected the animation and writing most of the main 7, but it just overall wasn't as engaging. The villain was lame, and the visuals weren't all that interesting. Friendship Games really feels like the grand finale to a trilogy, and this one feels more like a pilot to a TV show. Well, that's the end of my retrospective. Yeah, I said I would review every movie, not every special and short. Honestly, I don't like reviewing things. I think it makes me sound really pretentious, especially after writing this one and looking back at the script. But you never know. Maybe I'll return to the Equestria Girls series eventually, if they ever try to bring it back for G5. Or maybe during the holidays, because didn't they do a Christmas one? Oh, there's also one where they bring the Dazzles back? Sick. I'll look into those on my own time and leave you with my ranking of the first 4. At number 4 is Everfree. It really didn't have anything going for it other than some cool animation. Then part 1. This one has a big nostalgia factor and works as more of a special for MLP than a standalone Equestria Girls movie. After that, coming in at a very close second is Rainbow Rocks. It's iconic and does everything that the first movie does, but better. It has the best villains and soundtrack. Best of the 4 is Friendship Games. The writing is such an improvement over 1 and 2 and feels like a culmination of the whole series. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave it a like and drop a comment down below. Your support means the world to me. If you want to see more videos, hit that subscribe button and click on the little bell icon so that you get notified whenever I put out a new one. The next video I'm working on won't be coming out for another 2 weeks, but that's because we're going to take a look at an all-new My Little Pony iceberg, which I'm super excited to share with you all. I can't think of a better outro, so until next time, goodbye.